So I'm Mark Sage. I work for DFS, looking after loyalty, so VP of loyalty for DFS. My background is loyalty, so I've spent 20 years more on the agency side, and then recently working for Dairy Farm launching new rewards in Hong Kong and Singapore. So yeah, good strong background in loyalty, I guess. In terms of the evolution of customers, I think ultimately not much has changed and everything has changed. So in a sense, the technology's changed in terms of how we interact with customers, new channels, new apps, that kind of thing. But I think ultimately the way that customers react hasn't changed. Customers have the same reaction to marketing, the same biases. And so in that sense, the way that we operate programs changes, but in terms of how do we talk to customers and how do we generate customer behavior, I think that is very similar in terms of what we've been doing for 20 years. Yeah, I mean, we saw this with U Rewards. So when we launched U Rewards in Hong Kong, it was an app-driven program. It was a coalition program. And so, used a lot of kind of the latest modern technologies to do a loyalty program. And yet, it worked essentially exactly the same way when we launched Nectar 20 years ago in the UK, which was a plastic card program and didn't really have kind of what we have today in terms of apps and the way of working. And in essence, the program itself mirrored the same enrollment curve. So the velocity of how people came into the program, the way that the program landed with consumers and how consumers took up that program was exactly the same, even though completely different continents, 20 years apart, totally different technology. So I think what that shows to me is that we can improve the customer experience through technology, but ultimately the way that customers react and respond to an offer is actually very, very similar. So the big thing is something that I'd phrase as will versus skill, and that was a phrase that was given to me essentially by Tim Mason, who I used to work for a few years ago. He was ex-Tesco CMO, launched Club Cards, so one of the biggest, I guess, most famous grocery loyalty programs. And what he was trying to say with that was that really, when you look at personalization or anything you're trying to do with customers, it's the will to do it that's almost more important than the skills or the technology that surrounds it. People can spend a lot of time and money focused on the technology, but ultimately, you need to want to do it, and you need to want to talk to customers in a more personalized way. And you can do a lot with your existing technology. So I think the three things that I would look at is first of all, data. You need to have data to really start to understand customers and customer behavior. And then off the back of that data, you need to get insights. So just having data alone doesn't really work. You have to get insights to be able to understand how customers are reacting, and then be able to start to group those customers up and understand the differences in behavior. And then finally, it's how do you activate that? So how do you actually then reach those customers in the right way with the relevant offer and the relevant content? So those kind of the three areas that you want is the kind of data, insights, and ultimately activation of that. Everyone is in business to make money. But I think it's more subtle than that. I think businesses genuinely want to talk to customers. They want to have a conversation with customers. And I think increasingly that is becoming harder because ultimately customers have a lot of things on their plate. With different mobile apps, different social tools, different video on demand type tools, you're fighting for customer attention. And so ultimately your real competitor is the customer's time and what else they could be using their time for. And so the more relevant you are, the more cut through you're going to get in terms of what the customer's seeing. They're going to make time to listen to you if what you're saying to them has value to them ultimately. So I think personalization is really about driving through to get time and attention for the customer. So I think one of the bigger challenges for companies is the fact that they're fighting for customer attention. When we look at our competitors, actually the biggest competitor is whatever else is taking a customer's time. And so increasingly customers are chatting with friends, they're on apps, they're on social networks, they're on video platforms. And so all of those are taking customer attention away from us. And so for a brand to be able to reach a customer, it's really about relevance of that message, and that's really about personalization. Because customers are only going to open and read our messages if it's something they want to hear. And so personalization, I think, is critical to be able to cut through and get that attention from a customer. I think it's the same challenges that most companies hit, which is about trying to reach your customers. I think what's unique about DFS is we are a global company, and so we operate in many different countries and many different regions. And so the challenge that brings is just compliance at a data privacy level, At a channel level, if you look at, say, Korea, they've got Kakao, you look at Line in Japan, you look at WeChat in China. And so the way that our customers across the world consume media is different. And so you have to be relevant to them in their media. And so, when we look at personalization, you can start from a data point of view, but at some point you need to execute. And so when you execute, how you do that in different markets for different customer groups is one of the bigger challenges, I guess. And it's a moving landscape because new channels are coming in all the time. And so you have to stay relevant to the consumers and be where those consumers are. I think when you're looking at customers more generally in the sense of how do I appeal to all customers, again, it comes down to that relevance at a customer level and really understanding the individual customer journeys. And it's not just about marketing communications in the sense of EDMs or push or any other channel that you might be using, but it's the in-store experience as well. So understanding what drives your customers, understanding on an individual level what customers are doing, their buying patterns, and making sure that you're tailoring around that. That's the same that any other brand would be doing, I guess. But that's important for us to make sure that we've got that kind of customer experience maximized across all channels. From a marketing point of view, the basics are still there. The 4 Ps of kind of product and place and promotion. Those are the core attributes that you would have within any kind of marketing that you do. But the 5th P, I think, is now really about personalization. And it's about making sure that you're also relevant. You can have the best product in the best price, but ultimately when you're talking to customers from a marketing point of view, it is about how do you personalize around that. And so it's understanding the customer at a more one-to-one level so that you're crafting that journey across the customer, not just in your marketing communications, but also in your in-store experience and how people are shopping with you, and understanding the differences that you have there. And so it's the overall personalization for me is one of the overall kind of marketing Ps that you would have that you really want to drive through. So I think it will help us to scale ultimately. I mean, if I look at what we were doing, say on New Rewards, you're trying to bring offers to consumers, and you're trying to get the best offers to those consumers. But whereas an average grocery store may have, say, 5,000 plus offers running across it, it's very difficult when you're trying to bring those offers up into a medium like an app or an email to present to the customer, because generally those offers just sit in the point of sale. They don't have pictures and words attached to them. And so when you want to present an offer to a consumer, you need to have that additional rich content that sits around it. And that takes time. To create a picture, to create the offer text takes time, especially if you're doing that in multiple languages, which you would be doing, say, in Hong Kong. And so, for me, where generative AI starts to come in is that ability to really scale the automation of offer content. So the personalization is still there in the sense of which offers. You may see 5 offers different to my 5 offers, but those 5 offers are coming from a bank of 5,000 offers. And the ability to bring that content up to you at a scalable level, I think, is really what we're going to see as a sea change to do that. The other side of where these language models can really come into play is the personalization of the actual marketing itself. So not so much about writing the marketing from scratch, but taking what you were planning to market anyway, the offer content that you wanted to send to the consumer, and then having it change that tone of voice. If you're talking to a younger customer versus an older customer, or it might be based on their gender, or it might be based on their location, being able to get the large language models that understand how to rewrite that same content, but in a way that might land better with those consumers. I think there's a lot of work there that means that you're personalizing almost every marketing communication that you send out, but you're not asking them to make up the content, you're not asking it to make up the offer. What you're asking it to do really is to make that feel more relevant to the customer based on what you know about that customer. And I think there's a lot of advantage to that I think we'll start to see coming through the tools that we use on a daily basis for managing marketing. Yeah, what I like about conferences like eTail Asia, I think on the one side is having kind of genuine case studies, genuine brands who are coming up and presenting what they're doing, what they've learned, what pitfalls they may have hit doing it. Because I think, we all want that visibility, and you don't normally see it when you're looking at the headlines in the press. So I think when people come in and can actually talk about what they're doing and what worked for them, I think that's very powerful. I actually also like the panel type operation that we have, because I think what that allows you to do is to get that conversation going. And so you can get people across a subject matter expert who can then really talk about a topic and dive into that topic. So it's not scripted, it's not PowerPoint, and you feel like you're part of that conversation. I think those kind of panels work well to really kind of drive down into the depths of what people are doing and learn from that.